I'm Francois from Turkish Music Live, today with Producer Notes, and we're taking a look at melodic house here in the style of an artist called Cakes. We have a track here only using Ableton stock effects and instruments, plus Serum for some of the instruments, modeled after a track called Infinite Love, total Spotify track. Dreamy melodic house, groovy, perfect for a nice playlist. And let's take a quick look at the arrangement here. We are starting with an intro. The beats, you can actually mix that into a DJ set as well, a chill one. Super nice vibes when the bass is coming in here with the Reese bass and these chord plucks are building up. We have a track overall 4.5 minutes. Now until the first minute or so we are building it up, and then we are falling into the first break where the theme is more developed.
Lost in your echo. Oh, right now I'm feeling lost in your echo.
Yeah, and then the vocals are coming in, full playback of this track at the end of the video, and then vocals are getting built up, and then we are going into the first verse here at almost 120 or something, where all the instruments, drums and vocals are playing together.
Lost in the motion. When I see you, I get lost in the motion. Only one look is enough and I'm frozen. All the things we left unsaid.
Okay, and then we have a bridge. With this hook type vocal here. And then in the drop part, we're basically playing deep repetitions and delays of what just happened here in the vocal. Plus, bass is now plucky as well, going together with the chord pluck.
Burn down the bridges. When you walked away, you burned down.
And then we repeat a verse setup here again, falling into another break, and then we have the main drop.
Every time I try to walk away, I still hear you calling out my name. It won't let me go. Won't let me go. Won't let me go. Won't let me go. It won't let me go.
Yeah, Go is the name of that track here as a project file in the Melodic House Sound Pack listed in the description below the video. Feel free to check that out. You have another 5 project files of fully arranged tracks to study, learn from, learn the rules first so we can apply them later to our own tracks and break them there. Just take some parts or ideas out of here, maybe drums, bass sounds, or other elements, and then apply these concepts to our own music. That's the idea. And now the second part of the drop. And then we are going into an outro where the main plucks are not playing anymore. We just have our drums that keep playing. The bass is starting to wind down a bit, and we are sort of playing these background Atmos drone synths. And everything winds down over time. Filters are like driving downwards. If we take a look at the arrangement curves here, well, these are not really playing anymore. I'm referring more to these here. You can see the filters then slowly going down. And then we just play the drums. A nice setup that can then turn into the next track. So quickly taking a look at what the individual groups sound like. Drums group. And we have this effects group here with vocal Atmo and noise. And then it's a nice Atmo in the background. And then we have our bass group below that. With a sub, a plug, and a res in our break parts. And then the instruments group sounds like this in the drop. And if it feels a bit shaky here to you, this is because we are sidechaining it to the main vocal. So whenever that is singing, the instruments get pushed back a bit so the vocal cuts through nicely. This is something that does not happen or isn't present when the vocal is not playing. So for example, here in the beginning. Now we're just sidechaining to the kick. Okay, and then we have the vocals group, which sounds like this.
Every time I try to walk away,
with main and doubles.
Every time I try to walk.
We'll take a look at that later. Now let's go through the key elements here one by one, and we're starting with the kick in our main part with a simpler setup. Has a nice thud to it. And now we are playing this perk loop next to it, which already gives the vibes. A super cool loop produced by Tim Engelhardt for Deep Premium Volume 6, linked in the description as well, but it's also part of this project file, and you can see the transients are being modified here. So that's the original loop. And we're taking that down because we don't want these longer tails here, and we're taking it down to a value of 27. So there's not much decay, but we have the transients in there. And it's just super nice. Combining that with percussion elements. And these are slightly differently pitched. And what's the positioning? We are here in the second position. These are 16th notes, and this one is the fourth position after the second beat, part of the first bar. So, looking at these two. It's just super nice with these little brrr elements there in between. This already giving so much groove here. And now this rim shot as well. It's kind of sitting as a clap here. So I'm skipping this noise impact here for the moment, and we see we have another thing called snare sitting here. This is also an interesting positioning. What's going on? And this is how you get this little more minimalistic groove going here. Second position again, right after the kick. And then we're carving out all these frequencies we don't need. So we want these short, snappy, and somewhat distributed in the middle of the frequency range. Not too high up. We'll cover that later with other elements, but we want these elements to, you know, keep going here. And now if you're wondering, hey, why aren't we panning more here? So this percussion loop already pans around your ears a lot and, you know, distributes a lot of information already in the stereo spectrum. And by the way, this one is also heavily EQ'd here. So this is not what we're trying to do here. We were trying to keep this, you know, subtle. Because if we move all this stuff into the foreground, then our main elements of the track have less space. Okay, then we have an actual clap here. And now this one has a lot of top end information here. That's the one that really needs to cut through in the mix. This is how our drumming setup gets interesting. And I'm actually going to turn this off again. So we mix in this first clap, which has less attack surface here in the high frequencies, but this has kind of like this tonal information and a longer tail. And without the kick. Almost sounds a bit like one of those future-based snare sounds, but built for deep house here in this case, and more soft. And now together with that more high-end information containing clap on top. Okay, so there's your basic drum setup right there already. And now we need a whole bunch of, you know, cymbals around that. So I'm quickly treating the cymbals group here like a loop, and we just listen in and without it. So since it's modeled after a reference track, we sort of have to sort of create something that sounds like the, you know, the hi-hat groove of the reference track, and we need a bunch of elements to get there. So take that with a grain of salt. It's not really, you can also do this differently here, but quickly skipping through these elements here so we have seen it. So we have this element on the offbeat position, closed hi-hat. And then we have a shaker right below that. What's going on with the shaker? Playing the same position. And taking out some resonant frequencies on that very sample here, which is also part of the samples. Like all of these samples that we're using here are part of the sample pack in the Melodic House Pack as well. And we have another shaker. And this one is now sitting around the offbeat position here. You can also see our shaker. This one is, the MIDI is coming in early because this one has a slower attack time to it, and this one has a faster attack. And if we want the closed hi-hat and the shaker to sit on top of one another, we have to, you know, now adjust our MIDI to, you know, move around the starting point. And with the shaker loop here, we are occupying position 2 and 4 in our beat. Okay, another closed hi-hat sitting right on top of the kick. Let's listen to this one. This one is ever so subtle. So if I'm playing it together with the kick, and if I'm playing it without it, it's a massive difference. So this is the top kick element if you want. Quickly adjusting the heights for all of these to, you know, get a bit more overview here. And then we have 2 ride sounds in the offbeat position here as well. Number 1, longer tail on the ride. Number 2, shorter information. This one is more for the attacky part of the ride together. So this is what we're looking for here. And then open hi-hat. And this one doesn't have tail information, by the way. Are we sending anything here already through reverbs? We are not. So dry sounds. And so this is how the cymbals are being placed together. But, you know, again, take that with a grain of salt. You would not necessarily have to do that if you were just producing forward. But if you're reverse engineering, sometimes you have to like break it down into all these single elements. So that's the more, you know, minimalistic part when we are playing this section here. And then when we're playing the drop part, all these rides and open hi-hats are also coming in. Okay, and then we also have a bunch of fills here in this drum fill. For example, let's take a quick look at that. What's going on here? So we have a drum loop here, and then we are picking out you know, this part. We could also whole bunch of possibilities here if you set it to slice mode in a simpler. But in this case, we just have this marching setup here. Da, 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 da. And sometimes this gets combined with another fill element. Where is it? Down here. We have this drum fill. Let's take a look. It's more like a tom fill. So right in front of the main drop here. Just together with the drums group. And then we can see the claps are also playing right in front of the drop here. Noise impact, and there you go. So the next element here is our effects section. Quickly taking a look at this vocal Atmos sample that's kind of playing in the background all the time. Cutting off the high frequencies, cutting off the low frequencies, moving it around your ears with the auto pan to have nice stereo spectrum, and also widening it with a utility here with the width. So that's a mixing decision, always has to be in context with all the other elements of your track, but this one is sitting right below our drums. And since it's so subtle in the background, we are not sidechaining this one. And then we have this noise lifter. So we're using noise from the Serum noise section here in alpha noise, and we're just automating the level and the filter over time. And also the auto pan. You know, with the amount of the auto pan, you can also play around and get some interesting results. And now let's go to the bass section, which sounds like this here. So that's the bass group that's applied on everything. We have sidechains to kick, a bit of saturation, and here we are, you know, emphasizing a bit on the mid frequencies here in the middle. And if I'm going through these elements one by one, we take a look at the sub bass. So we are either in E flat minor here, or we are in A flat Dorian mode. Depends a bit on where you see the stability of this track. So we have A flat minor here in the first chord. We have B major in the second one. We'll take a look at that later in the chord progression. And then we have E flat minor, and then we are following up with D flat major. And the setup of these plucky bass notes is bump, bump, bump. It's like syncopated. I'm playing it together with the kick. So we let it run over 2 bars, and then we are setting it back to, you know, start at the beginning. There's no first hit here on that beat. Bit like Deadmau5, bit like Cascade, you've heard this before, and we can take a look at the Serum setup of this sound here. We have a sub oscillator playing 2 octaves down with a sine wave. We also have a saw wave on top of that, and we have this FM wave here. And if we just listen to this sound in solo, and we're not filtering, that's what's going on without the filter, with the MG Low 24 decibels per octave filter. Taking envelope 2 to control this one. In the effects, we are blank, and then the matrix shows envelope 2 controls the filter cutoff. Nice sound here. And on top of that, the pluck. And this one now has width to it, and also we are cutting out the low frequencies, also cutting out the high frequencies. And if we take a look at it now, we have 2 voices here. ICANN has kick in oscillator A and FM Freak in oscillator B. And now the width is coming from the hyper detuning here. So we are applying that 25% and setting the unison to 4 voices and mixing that in 50%. So this is how we're getting this wide. And then the chorus does the rest of that. The matrix shows envelope 2 controls the filter cutoff and envelope 3 as well. So here with a short decay time, we're controlling the filter cutoff. The resonance is at 9 o'clock, and then this one on top for this little extra bump. So same notes are being played. And this little jump here is always nice. So if you want to keep it interesting, you know, this one. Okay, so there's another bass here in the break parts, the Reese bass, just sustained, lots of voices. 8 of them. And then sending that through a filter, cut off halfway up. Nothing really crazy going on here. Very simple, straightforward Reese bass.
Walk away. I still hear you.
Just beautiful. Sometimes the simple things really work well. And let's take a look at the instruments group now, where we have the main element here with this Chord Pluck. And always keep in mind, we have heavy sidechain on the group here. We are using Serum household elements. That's why sometimes you might be wondering, hey, why aren't you using LFO tool or something like that? We want to make this easy to load up. And if you have these plugins, you can switch them for your plugins. So saw waves, 9 of them. And then we're sending that again through a filter here, cut off with 124 milliseconds decay time. LFO1 is also being active. What's going on? Let's take a look. We are automating the master tune slightly with that. So LFO1 master tune, if we pull this up. So that's what you're playing around with here. The pitchy beginning part of the sound. And then again, we are sending that through this filter here, MG low 18 decibels per octave with 124, and then we're also rolling off low end and high end here, and we have a bit of reverb on that sound as well, 6.7 milliseconds and mixed 25%, 25% in here, and we also have ping pong delays. We emphasize here on this mid-frequent part around 900 Hertz. Let's take a look at the actual notes we're playing here. So zooming out. So we are in A flat minor here. And B's the third. It's being played an octave up. We're not playing a fifth here. Just the third an octave up. And the next one is B. B major here. So if I'm bringing D down, that's a major third, but in the first part we're playing the second together with B, and it's also an octave up. You can see it here. That's the typical second energy, but an octave higher. Resolves up to the third up here. And now we're playing E flat minor. And that's a nice full minor chord here, bring this third an octave down, minor third, major third. It's always nice to play it an octave higher. Beautiful. And then we're finishing up with D flat major. And we have the third again, and it's a major third, 3 semitones in between. Okay, together with the bass, quickly. Just so nice, simple, and vibey. I think it sounds great. Anyways, lead on top of that is this sound. It's kind of analog, noisy lead sitting on top of it, and it's playing the high notes of this pattern that we just looked at. You know, here we are not playing the lower ones. And we are using this setup here, one simple saw wave and a bit of noise, and then, you know, we are already done with the setup of this sound. Bit of filter here in our effects section, then we have reverb and delay. Ping pong delay is noticeable here. It's really mixed in quite a bit. Stop your screen if you want to copy the settings. We're rolling off a lot of low end here. And what is the mod wheel doing? It's affecting the filter frequency. So we have the cutoff controlled here, but we also have another option to control the cutoff with the mod wheel as well. If we quickly take a look at how this is put together, here's the cutoff. And what's the mod wheel doing? The mod wheel is also controlling the cutoff, but in to different times. This is more general cutoff control towards the break parts. And then we have more intricate control on the single items here through the mod wheel. Sometimes this helps keep your, you know, cutoff curves a bit less messy by distributing it over two control points. Okay, we also have this little arp here below it. Playing our E flat minor. Very pretty setup, nicely adding to the Atmos behind everything here, and it's a saw wave or 8 of them and a sine wave. And then the saw wave, or actually both of them, get filtered, so they're not too present, but then the filter gets moved up by the, 85 milliseconds of decay time here with envelope 2. Again, reverb on the sounds, always the same setup here, and that's the only control that's happening here, rolling off low end. And we are in the scale of E flat minor, so we can play the root chord throughout. Or you could also argue we are in G sharp or A flat Dorian, and that would also work. Okay, and then we have a last element here in our main instruments, which is this pad, bit to the left. Just kind of acting like a lead here with a long release time. You know, the sound is still playing after the notes are already being stopped in the trigger. So very long release time here, 3 seconds of release time, and we are playing saw wave, an octave higher, 7 voices, and then also sending that through the filter. Matrix again, envelope 2 controlling the filter cutoff and mod wheel as well. So there's some automation potential. And then the attack is slow with 450 milliseconds. Nice and dreamy setup. And this is basically here our entire drone. Some people just loop a sample in the background, but we construct it because we are reverse engineering, and so you can see the, the single items and the parts. So 2 octaves here being sustained with sine waves. And then a pluck. Quickly opening up Serum. And I'm quickly skimming through these. And another one. Bit of movement through this one. Nine voices. Stop the screen if you want to copy the setup. Very straightforward. And another plug. And rolling off low end here, and the sound looks like this. Saw wave, square wave. Delay and reverb. And also plucked. All of them together. And then we can automate the entire thing with this filter control here over time. So these are instruments here, and let's move over to the vocals group. We have the main vocals sitting here.
I still hear you calling out my name.
Rolling off low end, and then it's getting interesting here with the envelope follower, which is being, triggered by the main vocal. And we're controlling the rivet of delay and reverb. Whenever the vocal's playing, it's being held down, and then it opens up when the vocal stops. So here in these middle parts in between. And you can see that here in the rivet.
Try to walk away.
And let's take a look at another part.
But it won't let me go.
So that's the delays automation for lazy people. Then we're also sidechaining it to the kick, and then we're playing a double track of it here. And this one is played on the sides. If you listen on good headphones, you'll hear that. Essentially the same effect setup as the main vocal, but
it won't let me go.
So
it won't let me go. You won't let me go.
And together.
It won't let me go. Won't let me go. Won't let me go.
Okay, and then we have this thing that we call delay here, which is a record delay of the vocal. And this is a typical, pattern you see in deep house or in melodic house tracks. Into the drop, you take the last part here and that you just delay it, and you record the delay, and then you fade it out over time, and also move it around people's ears and put a bit of a reverb on top of it. So let's play this part here.
Let me go.
And that's another trick here. You take one of those main themes again and then put it in a filtered fashion here as well into the background. Yeah, and even this one is being sent or was sent and rendered into a overdrive as well. And it's super dampened. So high frequencies, we are not EQing it here, but it has already been EQ'd and then recorded out. So tail. And that's how you can keep these parts interesting on top of your main sounds. So, okay, so quick summary of the elements that are most important here. We have a nice deep kick. And then we have these more subtle percussion elements. Like this nice loop here, and also shortened in the transients instead of having long decay times. With the beats transient preserve forward mode here. Always nice to use that one. And then subtle percussive elements around it. And this is how you get the groove and vibe. And then around that, this is how you could start your intro for the song. And then around that, you put the more powerful elements for your drum group, like the hi-hat loop. And then at some point, you also need a stronger clap sound. And that's the dreamy, vibey setup here. And then in the bass group, we have these syncopated bass sounds, and we are playing a subgroup and a pluck on top. So, and you can see here, we haven't really like cut it out in the higher frequencies, but the sound actually stops there. So it's already happening in Serum. And here we're cutting off much higher. This one here is more centered, and here we are, you know, detuning the sound, and it gets a bit more stereo. Together with the drums. And then the main driver are these nice and choppy chord plucks with a nice reverb and delay tail that moves into this zone here between the played notes. And now it sometimes gets a bit unstable, or it feels as if it is, because we're playing the vocal on top and we're sidechaining to make room for the vocal. So don't worry about that. Let's play it from here. And that's just saw waves sent through a filter. And then we are copying the top element and using that as a lead melody, emphasizing a bit more on that and making it a bit more wet. And noise on top of it. And then at some point we play this lead or pad, what it's called here, on top of it for the vibes. And it gets super dreamy with these arps here behind all of that. Quickly look at that again, solo. Nice. Atmos and drone layer here, engineered with plucks and sign pads behind all of that. And finally, dreamy vocals on top of that sometimes get turned into delay tails. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough. Feel free to check out the links in the description for this Melodic House Beyond Live pack with project files, sample packs, Serum presets in there. And each Serum preset also comes with MIDI and a wave preview, so you can hear what you're getting into with the sound before loading it up in Serum. Also, if you're interested in learning melodic house production from start to finish, I'm linking to a course in the description as well. I'm also linking to the Deep Premium Drum Pack series, where these nice loops are originating from. And also to an arrangement course if you want to learn music production arrangement, how to get from loop to full song. And if you're saying, hey, all of this sounds great, check out the Everything Bundle from PML. Best deal in the store and best way to support our work here. I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you for your time and attention. We'll have a full playback right now, and see you soon.
lost in your echo. Oh, right now I'm feeling lost in your echo. Don't know how, but I just can't seem to let go. You're so stuck inside my head. Lost in the motion. When I see you, I get lost in the motion. Only one look is enough and I'm frozen. All the things we left unsaid. So many times I tried to walk away, but it won't let me go. Won't let me go. Won't let me go. Won't let me go. Burn down the bridges. When you walked away, you burned down the bridges. Thought it's over, now I'm left with my feelings. Thinking I have no control. Every time I try to walk away, I still hear you calling